Back to another edition of the Net Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie Schneiderite, and Craig Epstein, Rutgers beat writer. Got quite a bit to talk about. You guys were both at Rutgers Media Day yesterday for basketball, so we'll talk about that. We got some recruiting stuff, some rankings, updates, some Wagner thoughts from last weekend. Let's just go right off the top, though. You guys are both at Basketball Media Day, which consisted of an open practice and then like a 25-minute question and answer from Steve Jichael. Let's talk about practice, though. Richie, you were at a practice last week. We did a lot of reporting on that. Craig, let's hear what you thought about the team, seeing them practicing for the first time in 23-24.
Yeah, I mean, everybody kind of think there's no secret now. This team is much faster. It's a much more up-tempo team. Even Cliff talked about it. I saw in his I think with NG.com is just now. Without Paul, Paul was Paul was just a different style. It was more, we joked about YMCA basketball for years, but between Derek and now Noah, it's much more of an up-tempo type team, so it's very fast. And as we saw yesterday, that style can take away from your defense a bit. So yesterday, even Steve Jichael mentioned it, that the defense was, a little bit off yesterday, but that's just kind of something you have to live with now with an up-tempo offense like this, because like he said, the more shots you take, the more times you're going to be spending on defense. So it's kind of a yin and yang. You kind of give and take with this style of play, but this is pretty much modern basketball now. And as long as Rutgers can hit their shots, you're not going to have any problem with it.
And how about you, Rich? Did it kind of match up to what you saw last week, or did you see anything different? Any new wrinkles?
Completely different. The shooting was not on point like it was last week, which is kind of a given for any shooting team, basically. But yeah, a lot more defensive strategy schemes like that. A lot of full court press too, which kind of leads back to what Carino was saying is I guess his first practice article that he saw. Yeah, the tempo's still the same. It's still quick. It's still fast. Not yet. Next year. Andre Hyatt, still the best shooter on the team by far. Antonio Chol impressed me a lot this one. And it goes back to what Pike was saying in his presser and what we've heard kind of before. Every practice, there's someone different that stands out. There was like 3 plays in a row where Antonio Chol just was nailing threes and he couldn't miss. He was by far the best outside shooter on what was yesterday, Tuesday. So it's just a different practice every time. But yeah, no, I think overall is basically the same for the most part. But the one-on-one matchups that I love, and they let him go up and down the court, and the whole team just follows him up the court, and it was just Derek and Jichael, and you saw the tweet probably. It's just so exciting because they all are like, Pikel's like, hey, all right, who's the best offensive player? Go left. The best defensive player go on the right side. Everyone goes left. It's like, what? Stop. Like, but Jichael goes to the right side, and it's like, all right, cool. Like, I kind of respect that. But I think a lot of them, like, if you saw them like huddling up and deciding who's going to win, who's going to be the offensive player, like Jeremiah Williams might be up there. He needs to play, man. If he could play, he's a starter. There's no question.
Wow. I was thinking that too because the thing about it, like you said, if he were to play this year, I feel like he would have, like you said, he'd be a starter and he'd have significant impact. If he gets to play next year, which I mean, again, they're bringing in Ace Bailey, hopefully, probably bringing in Dylan Harper. Like it's basically going to be the Ace and Dylan show that we think it's going to be. So even though he'll become more of probably like along the lines of a depth piece than like an actual. I think he still starts. Yeah, no, yeah, I think he will still start, but it's just like he probably won't have the same type of impact that he would have for this squad, I think.
Yeah, that's a given based on the fact that like this squad, he could probably get a little bit more shooting, but he's still going to be that 3-and-D guy at guard, in my opinion, or maybe even like a wing type player. I think next year he's full-fledged starter. I think Dylan's the 1, he's the 2, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I've seen a few clips of Jeremiah Williams, in stuff that the social team for Rutgers basketball's put up. He had like this really interesting like hook shot. Did you guys see that on display at all? Like, what about him impressed you other than just him standing? Like, use some specifics since we all haven't really seen him play yet.
Defensively, I'll say they played like 5-on-5, like they do every practice. Guys were cutting to the rim on him, and he was just standing in front of them the entire time. Like he's just on-ball pest. There's no way really no other way to put it. Caleb McConnell,
So
like
physically, he didn't look limited at all.
No, you couldn't even tell he was injured last year at all.
Wow.
And this is a guy who's maybe a little over a year removed from an Achilles injury. Maybe not even a year. Yeah, no, he looks perfectly fine. And then they do a drill where it's like 2-on-3 to try to set up defensive matchups and stuff like that. And he still just shifts his body well. He moves really well. Great footwork. And he's just getting steal after steal. And I'm just like, dude, well, number one, hold on to the ball if you're on the offensive side. But
yeah,
number two, it's like, dude, this guy's hands are everywhere. Like, he's such a good player that I think people are crazy still because they're like, kick him off team. He did this, he did that. I don't give a shit what he did with the gambling thing. Who cares about it? Like, 90. I said this before. I said 90% last time too, but probably 70% of college athletes are probably gambling on sports. Like, there's just no way around it. Like, it's so out there. Who cares? Who gives a shit? But yeah, I would say like Jeremiah Williams is a full blown stud, and if not saying he's getting a waiver, but like when a guy like Brad Underwood wants you on his team, and the specifics behind that had nothing to do with the gambling. I was told it strictly was the fact that he probably wasn't getting a waiver, and Underwood wasn't going to waste his ship for a year. That if Brad Underwood wants you, it tells you a pretty damn good player.
Yeah, and the hidden upside to having a guy like Jeremiah Williams on your team, despite him not being able to play, you might think it's a waste of a scholarship, but this guy is going to be the best player on the scout team all season.
Oh yeah,
he's going to be a guy who like you can rely on to be the best defender, to simulate that. Even though it might not be a guy Rutgers can play, it'll make the team better throughout the season for sure.
Yeah, between Dan Vesey had an Army offer. He's on a walk on. Zach Kane's coming from D3. He's decent, but it's like you said, he's just the leader of the scout team, and that's huge for Rutgers.
So let's talk about some other new guys on the team. Did everybody practice yesterday, or was it mostly Manuel Ogo didn't practice last week? Was that the same thing yesterday?
Yeah, he's still not a go whatsoever. He's still non-contact. Mag's in and out, depending on what the drill is. They're still working him along slowly. Pikel mentioned it in his press conference after practice. Mag's going to go at his own speed. We're not going to rush him back. I know I think it was Fonseca asked about it. He was kind of not trying to bait him, but like kind of trying to say like, hey, like, is he going to play game one? And he kind of shifted towards and say no, but you could tell he wanted to say kind of no, like it's not going to happen. And that goes back to what we've heard already, saying like he's probably not back till mid-November, late November, maybe even. So, but yeah, everyone else practiced.
So just run through some of the newer guys. Let's start, the heralded freshman, Gavin Griffin. I know we did this last time, but, we all have seen, a full season from guys like Derek. We've seen, several years from guys like Andre. Let's talk about the new guys. Start with Gavin. Did he look the same about this practice as he did last?
I'd say Gavin was a little less... like I said before, guys are missing shots. He was just falling short on a lot of his shots. They're on point. They're on target. Still has a great, phenomenal form, especially on his jumpers. But when it came to actual practice, he was just missing short every time. I don't know if he's tired. And Pikel said guys were fatigued. They're still trying to learn and get more in shape because there's a jump, obviously, between high school and college, especially for the freshmen. So I think it's just probably a product of that. But overall, he's still a good player. His defense worries me a little bit, and I think that's his biggest issue because he almost stands flat-footed, and it's you kind of can't really, especially when you want to be this guard. You can't be guarding like a Jeremiah Williams, Jichael Davis, Derek Simpson, Noah Fernandez, and think that you could just go flat-foot against these guys. They're going to get you quick. So I think his defense still needs some work, and I think that's something that. It's a work in progress, but you could easily fix. It's not like it's super hard. And like I said before, if anyone's going to fix it, it's going to be the defensive mastermind himself and Steve Pikel.
For sure. And what about J. Mike? He was a guy that seemed to get a lot of hype last time, and it sounds like he lived up to that again. Yeah,
he's going to play a significant role. There's no question about it. I don't know what type of role. I would assume probably off the bench, but he's running with Noah Fernandez as a starter in a couple of these drills. So it's I don't want to say 6-man, but I think it's going to be weird because you want to put Derek out there. Number one, he's going to get minutes. Noah Fernandez is going to get minutes. Gavin Griffiths might play a 2 or a 3 type role. he'll get minutes. So there's not a ton of minutes to go around, especially when Andre Hyatt starts shifting back to like that guard/wing role, because that's where everything gets a little complicated in terms of rotations and stuff. But no, I think Jichael Davis is probably your best on-ball guard defender, or backcourt defender. But yeah, he's explosive. He can hit a couple shots here and there, and he's, like I said, he's a pest. He's like I told Craig this off the pod. I think he's like a poor man's Jacob Young.
And it's funny because, like you said, he's a freshman. Like, he just got here, and he already fits like such a glove for this team that even Richie, you told me about scout that was asking about him, and it was like, and you're like, yeah, but he's just a freshman. It's just like when you get even just so quickly, he's already getting an NBA scout. Like, pretty impressed with him. So that really just says a lot about Jichael Davis.
Yeah.
One of the other new guys we got this offseason sounds like he's going to probably be a starter in Noah Fernandez. What did you guys think of Noah, seeing him out in the court at Media Day?
You go, Craig. If you want to go first.
Yeah, I mean, he is just like advertised, where it's just like he's probably going to be the guy handling the ball, probably taking more of that Paul Mulcahy, kind of taking Paul Mulcahy's role. But the difference between him and Paul is that
role is dead. Just preface by saying that there's no one dribbling with their back to the backboard. It's
just a completely different game where he's just cuts to the rim, looks for that open guy, but he's probably gonna be more of a shooter. And as we've seen, you just look at his stats. The guy is coming off he was limited last year with the injury, but he was like 48% 3-point shooter, and he shot just a great shooter. So you add that layer to this offense, it just adds so much. And if he can continue to get comfortable here, he's just going to be he could end up being one of the most pivotal players on this team.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
What about Austin Williams? I know that he had a knee injury last year, but he was practicing in full last practice here at Richie. Did he look about the same this practice as he did last?
Yeah, he was a little more quieter this practice. He took some lumps here and there on the defensive end. Offensively, he's probably, from what I was told, the worst free throw shooter on the team, which is a little surprising from the guard perspective. I kind of just assumed. Well, I guess we can't really assume because Manuel Ogo hasn't really been out there at all, so it's hard to say. But he's a good player. I think he could score in numbers and in bursts, but most of his scoring is going to come from drives and. Maybe I don't even know if he has a mid-range, to be honest with you. It's his outside shot's not great, but he did hit a 3 yesterday in 5-on-5. So it's hard to say really. It seems like he's probably not 100%. It seems like he's still trying to ramp it back up, and maybe it's just shaking off rust. Like we see it with football too. Like Sam Brown comes back and everyone's like, "Oh, superstar, he's back," and it's like, no, hold on, it's working back. So, and it's probably the same for him. Like I know it's been a year now, and it's an ACL, which is. Probably, I think we can all agree it's a lesser injury than an Achilles. Yep. But Jichael, perfectly fine. Austin's probably still shaking off a little bit of that rust, and we'll see what he can do this year.
All right, so we've talked a lot about what you guys saw yesterday. Is there anything we missed on before we move on that you think we should harp on about how Media Day went?
I was going to say, you mentioned this to me yesterday. That Wolf Folk, he looks so much leaner. Like whatever his offseason, they must have really gotten him with the strength and conditioning and everything, because he just looks like so much. Like I said, just so much leaner and just so much, I guess, more athletic. So that's really going to help, as opposed to everybody's so used to the big hulking big man. I guess that's going to be Emmanuel Ogbali's role this year, because that guy is just like that guy is built like the Incredible Hulk. He is humongous. I was like standing. He was sitting. I was standing, and I'd say next to him, he's just like, I think he's still bigger than me. Like his biceps are just probably the size of my head. It's just that guy is unbelievable. But Wolfolk is, like I said, looks much leaner, so that's probably going to add to make him more athletic, and just going to be just a better big man now in year 2.
In terms of like a final thought on this team, I mean, it's I've said everything. I don't think it's anything crazy. I do think they're a tournament team. I think Cliff's. Well, I don't think Cliff. I think Gavin Griffith's going to lead the way with scoring, but I think Cliff's going to be right up there. He's still got to work around the rim. Like he's got to work on that touch. I don't know how at this point you teach it to him, but he's got to figure out a way. Pikel said there's been times where he's bringing up the ball. I don't see that stuff happening ever, I hope. There was other time. He also mentioned how he wants to get Woolfolk more minutes at like a 5/4 role. I also don't see that happening. I don't know if most of you probably remember Pikel also saying, like, I'm not going to bag on Pikel, but he also said Ralph G was going to play a huge minute role. And it's like,
that's true.
I really did that. And then he said Miles Johnson and Cliff are going to play together. And it's like, that never happened. Like, so I would take a lot of what he said a little bit as coach speak. But he is true. It is a fact. This is his deepest team. There's no question about it. It is a fact that the tempo is going to be completely different than usual. You guys are, even if they're not winning, it's still going to be exciting basketball because it's not, hey, let's dribble up the court. Oh, it took us like 12 dribbles just to get the half court. All right, Paul, now pass the ball. All right, Paul, move. No, I'm going to stay at the top of the key. Okay, all right. But I don't want to bag on them too much, but it's just a completely different team, better shooting, a lot of shooting, and it's going to be a lot of three-pointer attempts. Are they going to fall some nights? Yes, and you're going to be like, holy shit, they're going to score 100. And then there's going to be other nights where it's like not their night, and that's the way shooting works. You hit or miss sometimes.
Yeah, I think the final thing I will talk about is that Pike. I know Pike a few years ago, he got himself into some trouble, and not like huge trouble, but he said that it was his most talented team ever, and then they had those struggles mid-season, and I think he's been very gun-shy about making proclamations like that since. So I thought it was kind of surprising he said this is his deepest team ever. And he's talked about never using that 13th scholarship until this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it is something to pay attention to, that he did say it was his deepest team ever. He feels confident in, possibly playing 11, 12 guys this year, which I don't think we've ever been able to say about a team Coach Pikel has led.
And that's also an important aspect of because playing the more up-tempo offense, guys are going to get tired more, so you're going to have a much deeper team than in years past.
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday, another thing that came out was Rutgers' basketball schedule got some more refinement to it in terms of networks and times. So we got all of our national games announced. Rutgers will be playing 2 games on Peacock this year. The first game will be opening day against Princeton on November 6th. That'll be at 7 p.m. on Peacock. The other Peacock game will be January 9th. That's another home game versus Indiana. The other national games we got FS1 for November 15th versus Georgetown. December 9th at Seton Hall will be playing FS1. February 22nd we'll be playing at Purdue on FS1. February 29th we'll be playing at home against Michigan on FS1. And March 7th we'll be playing on the road at Wisconsin on FS1. The game I think I'm most excited for is Rutgers is playing Purdue at home on January 28th on Fox at 1 p.m. Why is this significant? That is a Sunday. That is the day of the NFL's conference championship games. Those don't start until 3 o'clock. There's literally nothing else on TV. So Rutgers will have this awesome window at 1 p.m. where the entire country will be sitting around. It's cold as hell outside. They got nothing else to do. They'll be waiting for football. They'll be wanting to watch something, and this will be the big game on TV that day. So huge opportunity for the program to really make a big splash on the national scene on January 28th against Purdue.
Mike, you're just excited because you're going to be thinking to yourself, man, just a couple more hours till the Eagles play in the NFC Championship game.
Oh, Craig, you slay me. How did you know that's exactly what I was thinking? You're right. So, yeah, it'll be a fun day all around. Eagles back-to-back Super Bowl berths. Rutgers, big win against Purdue at home. Can't wait.
Fuck the NFL.
What's wrong, Rich?
I don't know. I spent $60 or $70 to watch my team get absolutely dominated by an average Seahawks team. So, yeah.
I do want to put it out there. I think the 49ers are a better team than the Eagles this year. I don't want to make it seem like I'm a huge homer. I do think the 49ers have looked better so far. So the Eagles need to tighten up a lot of stuff. They're not as good as they were last year.
Let's go, Zach.
Anyway, I found it interesting, the TV schedule. BTN for Mississippi State, which, I mean, it's just intriguing because BTN is going to get their whole crew and their whole network into Prudential Center for a game. Is this a test of the future? Maybe like you're going to see if like, hey, maybe we could do this like full time for a season because we got to renovate that bad boy.
Well, we've also heard that that's not the plan, so we'll see.
We don't know yet. You never know.
So yeah, that's the TV schedule stuff. Just a handful of games getting the special treatment. Most of our games will be on BTN or BTN Plus this year. No different than last year.
Same thing, but you got a Peacock, aka as a one coach, I won't name him, likes to call it the cock.
That was me.
No, there was a coach there. There's a coach that calls it that.
Okay.
Well, can't say who.
Then we're on very similar wavelengths.
Both got something on the mind. Anyway, let's move on. We had a basketball rankings update on Rivals this week.
We did.
Had Ace Bailey move from number 3 overall in the country to number 2 overall, jumping top Rutgers target Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper slid from 2 to 3. We saw Lathan Somerville take a bit of a not a fall, but his ranking got knocked down a little bit. He went from, I believe, where was he at? So he was at 80. 86?
Yeah, where the hell was he? 101 minus 14.
He was at 87th.
Yeah, there we go.
So he was at 87th. He's now 101. The big riser is Dylan Grant. So Dylan Grant was previously unranked. Now he's at 129. So he's less than 10 spots away from being a 4-star prospect. I know that you said that everybody at the Rivals ranking crew really likes him. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Dylan Grant in the final rankings update ended up being a 4-star prospect. Actually, you've got quite a few rankings to go still because this is we're not even in these kids' senior years.
Yeah.
So still a pretty good chance he ends up as a 4-star. What goes into a decision like moving one guy ahead of another when it's like so close to the top? Like what pushed Ace Bailey ahead of Dylan Harper?
It's just his recent play, number one. He's just been dominating every single camp. And if you watch both of them, don't get me wrong, Dylan's a great player, phenomenal player, NBA player in 2 years. Ace Bailey, same thing, NBA player in 2 years. But when you see a 6'10" guy, or I should say actually 6'10.5" now, when you see a guy with his height and his size doing what guards are doing, it's kind of like, oh shit, all right, well hold on, got to rethink everything now because now that guy needs to be bumped up. Like I said, Dylan's great, but Ace is doing things that point guards are doing. So it's like, It's freaky.
Yeah, his combination of size, length, speed, athleticism, shooting ability.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Cooper Flagg is ranked ahead of him. I don't think there's a player in the class that has the combination of skills and gifts that Ace Bailey has.
Agreed.
I get why Flagg's ranked higher, but I don't think the gap is very large. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Ace Bailey ended up as the number 1 prospect in the country when things are all said and done. And we've been saying that for a while.
It would not shock me a bit, but I know it might shock the rest of the world because some people definitely won't be happy, and maybe a guy named Shire down in the Carolinas might not be pretty happy with that one, but that's besides the point.
Well, I don't think he would be happy, but yeah. What about the rest of our players in these ranking updates?
Dylan Grant, he's an intriguing one because he was actually ranked in the top 150 previously back in December. What does it say? September 2022. So it's like, I don't know how that happens or what happens that he goes from 133 in December 2022 and then non-ranked. And it's like, hold on, wait a second. We fucked up. He's pretty good actually. Put him back up. And then he goes to 129. And it's like, it is what it is. Rankings are weird. I really tell people all the time, like, don't pay attention to the rankings when they commit. Pay attention to the final ranking. Like everyone's like, well, Muhammad Toure was a 2-star, and it's like, come on, like, dude, he was a 3-star when he was done. And everyone's like, Ron Harper Jr. was unranked, and it's like, dude, he was a top 120 kid, 4-star. Like that's stop. That's not how that works. Rankings don't work based on when they commit or the second ranking or the third ranking. It's the final ranking, and that's it. But I do think Dylan Grant, who's at 129 right now, 34 overall, small forward, has a really good shot of leaping into that 4-star range. I think you said it before. What is he, like 15 spots, 20 spots or something like that away? Maybe less?
He's 9 spots away.
Oh, 9 spots away. So I think he has a really good shot. We've hyped him up already. Our national sites hyped him up as an under-the-radar commitment. He not only dominated the EYBL circuit, but he had a game where he had like 28 rebounds. That's incredible. Like, that's just an unheard of stat. Like, he's a more polished version of what did I call him? No, not Mag. He's like similar to Bryce Dortch's stature and like height and weight and build and all that, but he's just more polished in my opinion, offensively and defensively. He's a pest. There's really no other word to say it other than pest in defense, but he's a really good player. And then who's the other one? Lathan Somerville took a little dip in the rankings. But I don't think it's anything significant. He's still a stud. He's still a great player. Had a really good EYBL season. I think this one, the dip is more based on some of these guys are ranked on high school potential. Some of them are on NBA potential. And it's tough. There's no perfect science to it. And I don't know how much of an NBA player he is, but I think he's going to be a hell of a college center. And I don't think there's anything to really worry about. He's going to compete with Woolfolk and Ogbol next year for the starting minutes. So
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. He's certainly got the size and the offensive prowess to play early, and we'll just see if he can actually do it. The next thing I have up on our list here is that there's a camp in Las Vegas being held the week leading up to homecoming for Rutgers called the Wooten Camp. It's a prestigious event. I don't know the coach's full name, but it's a guy named Coach Wooten. He has, the top 150 players in his list, or however many of them as he can get to this camp. Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper will be there, yes, along with a few others that would not surprise. I think Jaleel Bethea is going to be there. And I don't have the full list. But tell us what you're hearing about this camp, Richie, and is that going to affect visits? Because I know that Ace was supposed to be on campus that weekend. Dylan was talked about being on campus that weekend.
So no, it's not going to affect visits at all whatsoever. They are still going to go to the event. I think the event's Thursday and Friday, but Friday ends at like 2 or 3. I forget the exact time. I know we were talking about it yesterday, but out in Vegas. And then as soon as they're done, like Ace is flying into New Jersey. I'm assuming Dylan's probably going to fly at least home with him to New Jersey. It would make sense. Ace is going to meet up with his family, who's probably already going to be there. And then there's no confirmation that Dylan's going to be at homecoming, but when you have Dylan Grant, Lathan Somerville, actually Dylan Grant's still to be determined, Lathan Somerville, Ace Bailey, who am I missing? I'm missing someone. Oh, Bryce Dortch, all on campus. It would make sense for Dylan to go there. It's homecoming weekend. It'd be a lot of hype, whether it be maybe a potential bowl game if they win that one against Michigan State. For football, between the Midnight, or not Midnight Madness, Night Fest, right? I got that right?
Yep.
Night Fest. So there's a lot going on right now, and I don't know how Dylan sleeps, dude. This man doesn't stop. And then he's in this border league I'm looking at now, it sounds like, which is going to be in Arlington, Virginia, and it's going to feature Overtime Elite, John Marshall, Imhotep, Bishop O'Connell, Archbishop Stefanak. Sounds like that in some way, shape, or form, Ace Bailey's team is in that league too. And it's just like the first annual Border League East tournament, and it's just a massive amount of teams, and that starts October 27th to the 29th, and this shit doesn't stop. Like, let the kid, dude, commit already, because you got no time to visit anywhere.
Yeah, no, it seems like he's got every weekend he's doing something crazy across the country with
absolutely
one of his camps or visits and things like that.
Bonkers.
I don't know how he doesn't get bored. He just plays so much basketball. It's crazy.
Ball is life.
Right. That is true.
.com.
I've heard that.
It's like highlights. It's like Hoops highlights. I don't even know if Hoops mixtape is even a thing anymore, actually.
The ball is the program.
That one's ingrained in my brain. Thank you. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, speaking of balls, the program, we didn't have a proper recap pod this week about last week's game against Wagner. Apologies for that. No, we had the live after game show But what did you guys? So give us some high level thoughts. I don't want to do a full game recap, but give us a couple thoughts on what you saw from the Wagner game that either impressed you, concerned you. Craig, why don't you start?
I mean, the only thing I guess concerning coming out was Conga. It looked like he got banged up, and I'm not sure. It doesn't look like he's going to play against Wisconsin, so that's kind of a loss, especially facing a team like Wisconsin, which we all know is just big in the trenches. So you kind of want to have all hands on deck when you face a team like that. So that kind of stinks. But positive wise, they did what they were supposed to do. They really just it was never even really a game. It was essentially just a glorified scrimmage. Rutgers did whatever they wanted to do. It got to a point where the starters were probably in for a little too long because the game was just never in doubt. But yeah, I pretty much saw what I expected. Rutgers whooped up on Wagner. Now they're 4-1, and now this starts. These next 3 games are humongous for this season because if they can beat Wisconsin, I think they can. I think they can and will beat right now at least Michigan State and Indiana. I think those are definitely winnable games. So there's your 6 wins right there. You beat Wisconsin, there's 7 wins, and you're rolling into Ohio State at 7-1. Like it's crazy to think about that, but I think it's a real possibility. So there's your 7 win, and then Iowa, and as we saw, Iowa now unfortunately they lost Cade McNamara for the year. So they're going to be a little, shorthanded when they face Rutgers. So if Rutgers can go in and beat Iowa, there's 8 wins. And it's just like, it's unbelievable to think about where we were before the season, where we thought this would be possibly a 4 or 5 win. I know some people predicted 6 wins, so credit to them. And now we're talking about 7 or 8 wins. It's just was
that your prediction?
That was not my prediction.
Oh, okay.
I predicted 5. That was Alec. I saw Alec had 6. I think Mike. I forget what Mike had, but I forget. Yeah, Mike, what did you have? What did you predict before the season?
I had them going 5 and 7. Okay. I think given how the season's played out, both from Rutgers looking better than I think I expected, and also from Rutgers' opponents, it's starting to fall apart between Indiana looking terrible, Michigan State's program imploding, Iowa losing their starting quarterback, Wisconsin not being quite as good as I thought. And after talking to I did a podcast with the Wisconsin Believe crew last night that'll be released tomorrow morning. They're having some real struggles along their offensive and defensive line. They were working with a 2-headed attack at running back in Braylon Allen and Ches Malusi. Malusi broke his fibula, so he's out for the year. So now they have really nobody behind Braylon Allen. So this is a team that's more vulnerable than I would have anticipated coming into the season. And it seems like all the things that Wisconsin traditionally is known for is not really what they're known for this year either. So,
well, new OC, air raid, not air raid, whatever you want to call it. Yeah,
it's an air raid.
It's just between that. I don't think this game. Well, I don't want to dive too much into this one, but I don't think this one they're going to win. But like the Big Ten's in fucking like complete turmoil. Northwestern's got a fucking scandal. Michigan State's got a scandal. Iowa's just got the worst offense of all time. What was the original question? Oh, Wagner. Duh, that game, that scrimmage. Yeah. So I would say the only like big takeaway I would really take away from this one is Jesse O'Fury's back. Played some early snaps too in the first quarter. A lot of snaps in the first quarter. I said it before. I'll say it again. If he was healthy to start the season, he would have played significant minutes or snaps. Jeez, I'm talking about basketball still. He would have played significant snaps. He only had 1 catch. Pretty good. I thought the young guys kind of stood out a little bit. Ian Strong, his patented 1 for 18, 1 for 17. Yep, did that again. He should play more, but that's besides the point. The 2 biggest shocks, or I should say 1 shock and 1 disappointment. I'm looking at the Wagner team, and I was watching this guy run the ball, and I'm like, that guy looks familiar. I'm like, oh, that's Piotr Partilia, or however you say it. My pronunciation's ass, but former Rutgers PWO, who we actually thought was a blue shirt at one time, but whatever. He's on Wagner now. And in defense, dude, I can't harp on it enough. Max, you got to figure it the fuck out. I don't know. Like there's something going on there. He just hasn't been the same. He didn't look good against Wagner. It's just like there's a joke in there somewhere. I just don't know how, but it's just he's got to step up, man. And I know Wisconsin's maybe not the best passing team in the world, but they're not bad either. So like Max, I had to be careful of him this week. So yeah, that's all I got. Wagner was a scrimmage.
And it was cool to see Reggie Sutton take the field. Credit to him. I mean, after such a long layoff, that's just awesome to see.
Yeah, that was great for him. But I do need to tell people this because our boards are going nuts. Is he going to be a starter? Is he going to start today? He should be our starting right tackle, left or right guard, because we don't our stink right now. And it's like, yeah, no, they do stink. But Reggie Sutton's nowhere near ready. I don't think he's. I hate to say it. Credit to him. He epitome of chop, as Greg said. He pushed through. He got on the field. I just don't see him as ever being a significant contributor again. His knee was absolutely destroyed. Like, I don't know if like the man's going to be able to ever like full on sprint again. Like it was a bad injury, but credit to him. He made it out there. He got some snaps first time in a couple years. I think they said the 400 days or something like that. 500 days.
It was like 700.
Oh, 700. Jeez, I don't even remember now.
The last game he played was Michigan in 2021.
Damn, that's kind of crazy.
And that was the game that Rutgers lost 20-13. And then he got hurt the following week during practice.
Okay. Yeah, credit to him though. I shout out to him for coming back, but I just don't think he'll be a significant rotational guy. I think Felter and Trefani are going to be the top two guys. Taj White too. Top three guys coming in rotation.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. So we covered a lot here. Anything else you guys wanted to hit on before we head out today?
You can go first, Craig.
No, I think that just about covered everything. I mean, I'm sure, Mike, you're excited for your Red October.
Yeah, they got game 1 last night. They pulled out. Game 2, hopefully they close it out tonight. I like the new structure. These wild card matchups where it's just 3-game series. All 3 are at the higher seeded teams' home ballpark 3 nights in a row. So excited for tonight.
The Yankees are playing in about 6 months.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Are you a Mets fan, Craig?
No, I am not. I'm a Yankee fan.
I ask you this all the time. But yeah, no, I don't really have anything. I was looking. There's an Urban Meyer rumor that got shut down pretty quickly with Michigan State. Other than that, it's just a quiet week. We're just kind of waiting for Saturday to come. Oh, the cock. If you don't have it already, we have a link on our site. I think it's also on scarletnights.com. You get a discounted subscription if you're a student and or alumni. If you're a student, I think it's only $1.99 a month, which, dude, you get the Office, so it's worth it, like 100%. If
maybe
you're an alumni,
too.
What'd you say?
You see, maybe the reboot too. Do you see they're rebooting The Office?
No, dude, stop! Don't ruin a good thing. They reboot everything, and it's pissing me off now. It's like it's too much. They tried rebooting How I Met Your Mother, and they ruined that because How I Met Your Father was awful. Besides the point. I think alumni I'm looking at right now. Where is it? It's it's in scarletnights.com. It's also on our website. Alumni have access to an annual offer of $40 for 12 months. So that's still a pretty good deal considering I think it's $4.99 a month, something like that. And that's pretty much it. We definitely subscribe to our site because that's more important. And we'll give you the game by game live updates, and you'll see people either complaining or being excited. One of the two.
It's always one of the two.
Yeah.
But thanks again for listening to everybody. Thanks to all who have rated and reviewed. If you haven't already, it really helps us gain visibility and new subscribers. And just in general, it helps the show be better because the more people are aware of it, the more likely we're going to get guests to come on to chop it up with us, which we're expecting some good guests in the near future. We've already teased them a bit, but just stay tuned to your podcast feed because I think you're really going to like some of the guests we have on in the near future. But for me and Richie and Craig, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast. Signing off.